Hi, traders. I hope you had a good weekend. Hope you had a chance to relax. And here's another week upon us in trading. Today, I'm going to talk about the natural instincts we have and the natural instincts we develop when we're in trading. But in order to get to trading and the process that we go through mentally, I want to talk for a minute about sports. If any of you have been involved in sports, in any type of sports, you know there's the process of theory. So the process of theory is where they basically teach you about the sport, then you train, and then you get into competition with your peers that are in the team or against another team. Or maybe you are involved in an individual sport where you have to go against, again, an opponent in your team or somebody who is external if you are in competition. And what happens during that process is something that is very, very interesting. The first thing that happens when you go into, let's say, a competition against an opponent, and this is your first time or your second time, and many of you who were in sports before can relate to that, you panic. You know what to do, but you panic. And basically what happens is fear takes over. And when fear takes over, there is simply no rational way of thinking. And again, this is not necessarily because of you personally. This is just the way our DNA is built. It's fight or flight, and that either makes us run or it makes us stay in our place and just be paralyzed. And some of that process, as you go through more and more and more of that, your brain gets used to the fact that you have to be in some sort of a competitive state. So if you go into competition a lot in sports, and the same process repeats again and again and again, what happens is that your brain gets a little bit, and I hope I'm using the right word here, it gets immune, and it doesn't have those instincts that you had in the beginning. So you're a lot more calculated. So let's take a sport, for example, like boxing, right? So boxing, it's a very, or could be, a very painful sport. You step into the ring, you have to defend yourself, and you have to punch, right? And any point of weakness that your opponent sees that you have, he will punch you. And what happens during the time, in the early, I would say in the early days of your sport, if you're a boxer, you panic, and it affects you. And that way the opponent gains some sort of a psychological advantage of you. As you do more and more and more of that, you shake yourself off pretty fast, and then you're able to be in the ring and combat back. And I'm not suggesting here that anybody gets into the area of sports, especially boxing. I'm just using a pure example from things that I know and follow. I was involved in those sports as a kid and even later on as an adult. So I would tell you that the process that you go through is that, what happens over time is that if somebody hits you, you shake it off pretty fast, and then you're able to focus again, and you don't panic. And it doesn't mean that you'll necessarily win that match, but you will be able to think more rationally. You will basically have a strategy, and basically it's just another thing in the ring. You get hit sometimes and you just do it. So the pain doesn't necessarily go away. The pain of being in the ring and being hurt, it does not go away. But what takes over is basically a lack of panic and strategy and thinking and continuing. Now, if you think about trading as a beginner trader, you absolutely go through the same process. When you begin trading, you panic and you do things that are not rational, and that causes losses. So beginners will experience losses. And again, this is not something that you necessarily want to hear, but it happens because you have to kind of step into the ring of trading, for a lack of a better word, a number of times in order to understand what's going on. So with time, you should replace panic with the ability to have a strategy and come back and say, you know what, I got hit. I did all the right things, but I left a blind spot and I was hit. Now I have to go back. What happens many times to traders, as opposed to sports where you have no choice and continue to fight, in trading, many traders stop. And it's understandable. Again, all those podcasts, I'm not here to criticize, I'm here to help. But remember what I say all the time, that our natural instincts are not necessarily what's going to save us, especially in the marketplace. So they panic, they stop trading, they go back to the strategy again, right? They try to rewrite the strategy, they go back again, lack of a better word, they get punched by the market, and so the process goes on and on. So they don't really have a continuation in terms of educating their body, their brains, or anything else to adapt to those things. Now, clearly, as I always say, nobody has endless amounts of risk capital. I get it, I understand it, but at the same time, I wish I could tell you that there would be an easier process to go through that. You have to get yourself to a level where you don't panic. You just have to realize, okay, I got hit, I got stopped out, I'm not in the trade anymore. What's the strategy now? How do I get back? How do I make things smart? Now think about it in the ring. If your opponent hits you all the time and you become emotional, your opponent will knock you out. He will, because you start panicking. You just throw your hands everywhere, your legs, you're not coordinated. The mind will not be coordinated if you get punched a number of times by the market and you, let's say, lose it, right? So many times traders can simply lose it, meaning that they had a good day, or maybe they had not such a great day, but it turned into a horrible day where they just should have just thought about it. So you have the ability to basically, if you get punched out, to sit back, relax, and say, okay, what's the next step? Now, even a winner in boxing, in any boxing match between two champions, gets hit. Think about it. So there isn't anybody on earth that I've seen so far, or in any boxing championship, that it doesn't get hit. And even the opponent who loses, he still gets scores. So think about it. When you're in trading, even if your strategy is a good strategy, you will get hit many times. And your job is to come back to the market, develop this immune system of not panicking. And again, that comes with time. It doesn't come with weeks or months. It comes with years. And that's the reality of trading. Whether you're an investor or a trader, you just have to get into this mode of, okay, I got hit, I'm better now, let me see what I've done wrong and approach it again. So you don't stop the fight, right? You don't throw in the white towel and you don't panic, because you don't really have an option. If you want to be a trader, you have to go through levels of pain. Let me just stop this at this moment and do just a little commercial. Just a little one, if you can bear with me. And this is for Optimus Flow, our own trading platform. This trading platform is really good. It's free. It has everything you need to trade with. It has a DOM, it has a chart, it has an order module, it's fast, and we know the software well. if there's any type of brokerage that you're currently with and you're not crazy about your arrangement with them, or you just went on kind of an instinct and opened an account with them and you need just a lot more guidance than you thought, then give us a call. We will help you. Our phone number is 1-800-771-6748, and this is in North America. If you're outside, it's 561-367-8686, which is our local number. And of course, you can always email us at support@optimusfutures.com. Our technical support team will help you choose a platform that is right for you. And if Optimus Flow is the right one, then that's what we're going to recommend. And we hope you choose it. Okay, back to the show. And by the way, I've learned all this advertising thing from all the other podcasters that I listen to sometimes. So I should give my company a few more plugins during those podcasts. Anyway, going back to the boxing and trading and everything else. So remember, over time, you should, and you will, many of you will, develop some sort of a strength, a mental strength to deal with punches and continue trading. I'm also going to take this point to say that futures trading is very risky. Use only risk capital. There's a substantial risk of loss in futures trading, and past performance is not indicative of future results. The last thing I want to say about this episode is this, is I try as hard as I can to explain the psychological process. And again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, but I've been in trading long enough to understand many times the thought process that the brain goes through. And I draw my analogies from many areas, whether they're sports or whether other survival games that are out there, or just pure survival that people have to go through, and the things they resort to in terms of thinking and how they behave and everything else. Because I believe that the market, as the guys in blackjack call it, or in poker, it's called a tilt, which is some sort of a psychological imbalance that happens and you just lose it all. I mean, I'm not talking about funds. I'm talking about just mentally. It's very hard for you to function because you're just not thinking rationally, and you want to make your money back, and you're panicking, and you're over leveraging at that point, and you're doing all the wrong things until the day ends. And then you sit there and you say, what have I done? So a lot of the process of gaining control over your trading is really understand how we act and react to things. Because believe it or not, many times there are certain physiological, chemical, biological things that are happening that are taking over. And they take over really, really fast if we're not aware of them. So it's the same thing when they tell you not to panic, right? When, let's say they say, when there's a current in the ocean and it pulls you, you shouldn't panic, you shouldn't fight it. It's really hard to do those things. It's hard because we all want to survive. None of us wants to lose money. So trading will always come with a certain level of pain that we have to get used to, be conscious of it, and understand that it will happen. And the key for us is not to panic. Even if you get punched by the market 5 times, 10 times, don't panic. What does it mean, panic? Panicking not only reflects in not knowing what to do, but just trying to come back to it all the time and win. It's just at some point you say, okay, you know what? Now it's just my mind is not thinking right. At the same time, if you are gaining and you're doing things in a calm fashion, continue doing that because it's just a habit. And if it's working for you, it's working for you. So that is all for now. I wish you a really good week. And again, I look forward to hearing from you. If you email support@optimusfutures.com and you have ideas for a podcast or something that you want me to address, I would be more than happy to. I want to address things that concern all traders, and I believe that will affect everyone. So many of the responses that I get for this podcast, which have been really tremendously positive, and I'm very, very grateful, that they have been, because I love to help people. If it helps you, it's fantastic. That's all I want to do. But they say, it's like I feel like you're talking to me, right? I feel like it's me. And what I try to tell people, or traders or customers that come in, is that the issues that they're having, everyone's having. It's not a question of IQ. It's not a question of intelligence. It's just something that has to do with the psychology of money and the psychology of trading and movements in the market that cause all of us to behave in a certain way. So I hope this episode was helpful to you. And again, just to remind you, there's substantial risk of loss in futures trading. Past performance not indicative of future results. Call us, 1-800-771-6748. Local is 561-367-8686. Or email support with any requests or questions about futures trading. It's support@optimusfutures.com. Thank you, and I wish you a great week.